Hey everybody, Chrissy here today for Kindred Stamps, and I am going to show you how to make a card similar to this one. We are going to do some watercoloring today. I'm going to show you how to use watercolors and then a little bit of some watercolor markers as well. So the first thing that I did is I stamped this little guy using a stamping tool onto a piece of watercolor cardstock. Now the placement of him does not matter because he is going to be painted in and then cut out. But for our time traveling foam box, the position actually matters. So stamp that on your cardstock panel. It's watercolor again, where you want it to be. And then I stamped it using some watermark ink so it doesn't show up. And then I heat embossed it with white embossing powder. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm activating the powder. And then now we are going to start our watercoloring. So I am using Gansambi Tambai. I don't know if I'm saying that right. These watercolors are really nice. That's all I can tell you, is because they're really creamy. There's all different kinds out there. So don't be afraid to test them and see what you like the best. The technique will work pretty much for any brand. It's just a matter of the colors you like. And then some are kind of like richer and creamier. Like these are really thick if you don't add a lot of water. Other ones aren't quite as thick. So it just kind of depends on your personal preference. So you can see what I do is I actually add like a light wash of color first, and then I come in later with darker colors. And I'm doing kind of actually the same thing for the background. I want that little box to kind of be highlighted, kind of popping out of the background of the card. So I put some yellow around it and then came back in and made it darker yellow with the orange. And I'm going to do the same thing with my little time traveler guy. His clothes, his hair, everything. So you can see light wash of color first, and then I come back in with a darker color, so basically less water. So with watercolors, if you're not familiar with them, the less water you add, in general, the more vibrant or darker they will be. So you can see that I have like a non-stick. This is like a glass mat. You can use, there's like non-stick mats. You could use acetate. You could use palettes, whatever works for you. Something that's slick. So I take a little bit of color with a water brush. And again, you don't have to use a water brush either. You can use a paintbrush with water. I just like the control of a water brush. And I kind of have some off to the side where I can pull water out of. And then if I want it to be really vibrant, I dip right into the actual color. And then here I did the same thing and I used some markers. I didn't have like a peachy color for his skin tones that I wanted in the actual watercolors. So I went and I used watercolor markers instead. You can see I scribble onto the glass mat and then I add water and then kind of paint it in. So it's really kind of the same technique, just using two different mediums. But when you put them together, they all look like watercolor, so nobody can tell the difference whether using the paints or markers or even inks. Some inks will work as watercolors as well. Then once everything was 100% dry, I stamped the sentiment on there in some black ink, and then I heat embossed that in some clear. I just wanted it to pop up a little bit. And then now we're just going to start assembling the card and kind of finishing everything off, so that a piece of this really gold mirrory cardstock would be kind of fun, kind of to pop everything out. I kind of like the gold color on there, so that became my mat. And then I decided to put everything onto a black card base to kind of also make that pop out a little bit. So I'm just using some 3D foam squares. And then same thing with my little time traveler guy. I cut him out, I fussy cut him out by hand, and then I added some 3D foam squares on there, and then he stands out a little bit more in the forefront of the card. And then there's another one I did that's similar, so you can see close-ups of both of them. So I hope you will give some watercoloring a try. Thanks for stopping by today. Have a great day.